Welcome to the John Campea Podcast, episode number 5 for Monday, March the 14th, 2016. Hey guys, and thanks for joining us. On this episode of the John Campea Podcast, we're going to talk a bit about the box office. Did the Captain America trailer actually give away a massive spoiler? Beetlejuice 2 may be further away than we thought. CW renews a whole bunch of shows and a whole bunch more. Thanks a lot for joining us. The John Campea Podcast starts right now. Well, hey there, guys, and welcome to the John Campea Podcast, kicking off a second week of podcasting here. It has been an amazing ride so far. You know, it was incredible. I started up this podcast just as something fun to do, something for fun, because I love talking movies in my DNA, and I thought, you know, it's going to be really easy and not time-consuming at all to do a podcast from home, and I don't have to worry about what time I shoot it at. There's no set schedule, and I'm just going to do it for fun. It'll be kind of a cool little thing. And then all of a sudden, it debuts at number 1 on iTunes in TV and film. Could not believe it. And then, you know, a lot of people tell me, don't get too caught up in that, John, because most films most shows when they hit number 1, they stay in there for like half a day. But it stayed at number 1 for 4 days. I'm still in the top 10. I think might be in the top 5. I'm not sure like that. But you guys gave me a great kickoff for doing this podcast and everything. By the way, I'm John Campea, in case you didn't figure that part out already. So thank you so much for helping me get that kicked off and get that all going. And here we are rolling into the second week. Now, for those of you who are watching this on my YouTube channel, look, a lot of you, what I was doing last week was, obviously I put this podcast, because this is first and foremost a podcast. I was putting the podcast up on all the podcasting services. But because I have like 30,000 subscribers on my personal YouTube channel, I thought I would put an audio version of this up on my YouTube channel as well so people could hear it there. But I've been getting a lot of requests from people asking for video. And I said, you know, I don't want to do video because that takes more time. This podcast thing is not my gig. This is just for fun. And I want to make sure I keep it as low maintenance and as low effort as possible. But some people are saying, look, even just turn on a camera. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you know I've turned on a camera, and then just have the camera on. So if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, today is the first day that I'm actually putting video up. So we'll see if you guys find that worth it or not. But today, Monday, the 14th, is a pretty big day for me. Now, as I've mentioned, this podcast is not my gig. This is not my job. This is not the reason why I left my job as the head of Collider Video. Not at all. I've been telling you guys for a while now that I have other things lined up, that I have projects coming that I would never be able to do if I was still being the head of Collider Video. And for those of you who are fans of Collider Video, you know I'm still there. Like, I'm still on Jedi Council. I'm still on Heroes. I'm still on those shows. I plan to continue to be on those shows. You just saw me on the Empire Strikes Back commentary. For those of you who've been asking, yes, I am going to do not the Batman v Superman. I'm going to do the Man of Steel commentary coming up this week that we're going to do. So I'm still there. I have a presence there. I just don't work for Collider anymore, even though I still do some things there and all that kind of stuff. But I did not leave that gig to come and do my podcast. My podcast I do for fun, but I have told you guys that I do have things coming, things lined up that I'm very excited about that I basically would never be able to do if I still had that gig. And ultimately, that's why I left that job. And one of them I'm actually able to talk about today, which I am really excited about. The press release went out this morning. I've had to keep my mouth shut about this for quite a while, but I'm very stoked about this. When you think of the name, if I were to ask you, what is the name in geek culture today? What is the brand that you would instantly associate with geek culture, with the current pop culture? What would you say is the brand? Now, if we took a survey, I bet at least half of you would say the same thing that I would say, and that brand is Comic-Con. Comic-Con is the brand that we all associate, whether it's with video games or anime or movies or TV, you name it. Comic books, obviously, but when we think of the modern pop culture, when we think of geek culture today, the name that is associated with that is Comic-Con. Now, a press release went out earlier this morning announcing that Comic-Con is launching their own channel, their own television channel, if you will, their own VOD. It's a video on demand service that is called Comic-Con HQ. That is the name of the new network that they are launching, and they're launching in partnership with Lionsgate Studio. The big major Hollywood studio is partnering with Comic-Con to launch this new channel of theirs. And in the press release that went out, there's a lot of things listed about a bunch of things you're going to be doing. I think there's going to be a lot of like the Comic-Con panels will be on there, a lot of exclusive content, a lot of archival content, and some new original programming as well. Now that's where I come in. I was approached, this is going back a while. I was approached a while when it was announced that Lionsgate and Comic-Con were going to be putting a network together. And I was approached a while ago, while I was still the head of Collider Video, about the possibility of putting together a major weekly movie news show that would be different from Movie Talk that was airing every day on YouTube, but was still the same spirit, still breaking down, discussing and analyzing and, commentating on all the news and everything going on in the world of movies and the big major issues in the world of movies and film fandom. And bringing that spirit to a higher production value, larger weekly show, and about executive producing that and being on that. And that was going to be done in cooperation with Complex. Now, Complex is the company that owns Collider. And when I departed Collider, I had some plans I wanted to do, but I didn't think this would be one of those plans I could carry on with because it was kind of attached to Complex. Well, after I had resigned my position with Collider, Complex still got in touch with me again, said, hey, just so you know, we still love you and I still love Complex. I love the company. And they said, we still want to work with you. You're the guy. Comic-Con wants you. Lionsgate wants you. We want you. You're the guy to make this show happen. And hey, now you've got all the time in the world if you want to executive produce and develop this show. So it was in the press release that a new weekly show that, as the press release put it, is inspired by that daily movie talk show that I had created and put together and is still running and is in great hands now and is doing great. There were Comic-Con channels launching their own weekly movie news show, and I am going to be executive producing that. Now, I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit. I'm in my final negotiations. We have not signed a deal yet, like me and Complex. We haven't signed the deal yet, but I want to do it. They want me to do it. We just got to work out the final details, and then this thing is getting done. So now this is not by any means the only thing I'm going to be doing, but this is certainly one of the major pieces of the puzzle. For me to be involved with and to work with an organization like Comic-Con, for me to work with a studio like Lionsgate, and for me to have the privilege of continuing to work in a new capacity with a company like Complex Media, or I believe they're just going by Complex now, is incredibly exciting to me. And the fact that I'm going to be able to get to put this show together, and here's one of the really, truly exciting things for me, is, running Collider Video and putting together Movie Talk every single day. That was a sprint every day. You're just putting those shows together and making them the best we can. And I'm so proud of the job that Dennis and Christian and Schnepp and Mark and Wendy and everybody still over there. I am so proud of the job that they have done of not just keeping Movie Talk going, but keep improving it and keep making it better. And the job that they've done. Now, I did that for 5 years. And the idea now of having a show that I could pour so much energy and so much attention into one weekly show got me very excited about the types of things we could do with that show, the quality we could make that show, because look, above everything else, I love the film fandom community. I love the film fandom community. Everything I've done in my career has been about me being a part of and me trying to enhance the experience of the film fan community. And to know I'll be able to do that with partners like Comic-Con, with partners like Lionsgate, with partners like Complex Media, I am stoked. I am so excited. I've been wanting to talk to you guys about this for so long. We haven't got a final name of what the show will be. I believe the show is going to launch in May. I am currently heavy into planning. I'm about to start heavy into casting. I've already got a couple of people I've signed up to be on board with me. So I'm super excited, super stoked. I will put a link in the description of this podcast to where you can go and read the full press release that Comic-Con, the new channel's once again called Comic-Con HQ, that Comic-Con has put out. And it's not just this movie show, man. They've got a lot of really cool things coming up. And I won't go into it all myself right here. I'll let you read it for yourself in the press release. But it's exciting. Like, forget the fact that I'm going to be a part of this now. Forget that. I'm excited for this channel. I am excited to see the programming they've got coming up. This is going to be such a service to the movie fandom community, but also the geek culture, the pop culture fan community as a whole. This is such a great natural extension of what Comic-Con is. Unless you think that I'm just saying I'm excited about it because I'm a part of this thing, not at all. The reason I got excited and the reason I'm doing this was because I heard the vision that Comic-Con and Lionsgate had when they pitched me the vision for what this network was going to be and what their goals were and what they wanted to bring to this Comic-Con community. That's what sold me. That's what got me excited, and that's what made me want to be a part of this. And I'm so glad to be a part of this. I'm so glad you guys are going to be a part of this with me. More information to come as far as the logistics of how you become a subscriber to this new Comic-Con HQ. All that kind of stuff is coming. A lot of the information is in the press release. And once again, I'm going to be putting a link into where you can get that press release. So again, this is not the only thing that I am going to be doing. I do have a couple of other things still coming down the pipe that I cannot wait to announce and let you guys know about, but we're not far enough along on those things yet to make an announcement, but believe me when I tell you soon we'll be able to make some announcements about that. So that's the big news from me today, at any rate, about what's going on with me. Now, before we get to the news today, and as I said at the top, a whole bunch of stuff, some Captain America spoilers that may be out there, J.J. Abrams talking about a Portal movie, CW renewing a bunch of shows, not so great reviews for Keanu coming out. Before we get to all of that, I wanted to address something. Okay, so one of the final things that I did when I was the head of Collider Video, one of the final things that I wanted to get put together and pieced together was this new show, this new movie trivia competition show called the Schmodown. Now, as you know, the Schmodown is something that's been around with Mark and Christian for a very long time. But we put this plan in place to bring a regular weekly, instead of just an annual tournament, making a weekly show, a weekly movie trivia competition show on the Collider YouTube channel. And I was working very hard with Mark and Christian, and we got those deals done. And that show is starting up here. And for those of you who follow me on social media, whether it's on my YouTube channel or Facebook or on Twitter, you guys know that the very first matchup for the new Schmodown, which is going to be on the 25th, it's going to air on the 25th. We're actually going to record it this Friday, the 18th, but it's going to air on the 25th, is me, John Campea, versus the defending Movie Fights, the Screen Junkies Movie Fights champion, Dan Murrell. And that's the opening match, is me versus Dan. Now, Christian and I are both UFC guys. Christian and I are both have a background in being big fans of professional wrestling and WWE and things like that. So Christian really wants to hype this stuff up, right? So yesterday I had some time because my wife Ann went out of town for a few days. She went over to the East Coast on business. So she's going to be gone for a couple of days. So I had some free time on Sunday, and I decided to cut my own little promo reel, like an old school wrestling style promo reel where it's just me crap talking and calling out Dan Murrell. I can't even remember all the things I said in it, but it was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun putting it together. It took me about 20 minutes to put together, but I put this little video together to crap talk out. And holy crap, I knew I was going to get a big kick out of it. I knew Christian was going to get a big kick out of it. I did not expect it to take on the life of its own that it ended up picking up, because before I know it, it's flying all over the place on Twitter. To the point now, most people understood it was totally in fun. But the reason I'm addressing it right now is because I started to realize, I started getting a little bit concerned that some people were actually taking it very seriously. Like a lot of people took it that I have this hate on for Dan Murrell and I have this hate on for the guys of Screen Junkies. Let me be very, very clear here. Nothing could be further from the truth. I really like the guys of Screen Junkies. I have nothing but the deepest love and affection and admiration for the guys of Screen Junkies do. That includes Andy Signagliori, as I call him in my promo. That includes Dan. I've had Andy on my panel at Comic-Con. I probably will again. And I'm a big fan of everything those guys do. But that was just me hyping up the show. I mean, that's just for fun. And I'll probably make more of these videos. Once you're done with this podcast and you follow me on Twitter, you're probably going to see me crap talk Dan a whole lot more once I get back on Twitter after this show. But let me be very, very clear here, okay? For those of you who don't see behind the curtain, this is all just for fun. It's all just for show. I have a mad amount of respect for the guys at Screen Junkies. That includes Dan. And I'm really looking forward to the game. It should be a lot of fun. And I honestly, look, I'm talking about how I'm going to just wipe the floor with Dan. And I'm going to wipe the floor, whether it's Scott Mance or Roca or JTE or Finstock or any of the rest of them. I'm just going to wipe the floor with all of them. But I don't really know that. I mean, look, here's the thing. Do I think I have a chance against Dan Murrell? Absolutely, I have a chance against Dan Murrell. I'm a smart guy. I probably know a million things Dan doesn't know. But Dan is a very smart guy, and Dan probably knows a million things I don't know. It's trivia. So you just don't know what's going to happen with trivia because you can't train for trivia. I mean, you're going to get questions. Some of them you're going to know, and some of them you won't know. And it's all about the luck of the draw, kind of, as to which categories you get, which questions you get. You just never know. Look, I could just as easily destroy Murrell in like the first round. I could wipe the floor with him 40 points to nothing. I could do that just as easily as he could completely destroy me and wipe me out 40 points to nothing. I mean, who knows? It's trivia. And I'm not all that great at trivia. Now, I said that at the last Schmodown that I was in, and I ended up doing pretty good at that. But honestly, I don't know if I'm going to win this or not. I don't know if I'm going to dominate or be dominated. I just don't know. It's trivia, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So I encourage you. Now, we're going to keep our mouths shut because we're going to record this match between me and Dan on the 18th, but we won't air that match until the 25th. So Christian corrected me. I thought they were airing it on the 18th as well. I thought we were going to record it in the afternoon and they were going to put it up in the evening. But apparently we're recording in the afternoon and they're going to put it up on the following week. So the way you see it, make sure you subscribe to the Collider YouTube channel and keep your eye open. On Friday the 25th, they will air the first episode of the new Schmodown show, which I'm very proud has been put together. I was in for the tech run they did the other day. Dennis, who is the master of all things, he's done such a great job working with Christian and the guys there to put this all together, to make sure that the team there has just done a great job. It looks great. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't tell you how good of a job those guys have done. I'm so proud of them and the job that they're doing. And I'm really excited to be the first match on it. So make sure you tune in there for that first Ultimate Schmodown. All right. With that all out of the way, let's get into some of the movie news that has come out. Now, this first one, gotta warn you, potential spoiler, okay? Now, I'm about to talk about something that is in the Captain America Civil War trailer. It's in the trailer, so you might be thinking, but John, if it's in the trailer, how can it be a spoiler? Because I don't think it's something we were meant to see. It's a very odd thing. So you've been warned. Fast forward about 5 minutes if you don't want to hear this, but you've probably already know what I'm talking about because this has been all over Twitter and everything as well. But here's what I'm talking about. In the Captain America Civil War thing, we see a lot of action, and we also see a lot of fight shots between Tony and Captain America, between Iron Man and Captain America. We see a lot of these shots from different angles, whatever. What happened, though, is that somebody at just the right frame caught a frame from that fight, and it's from behind Tony. So you see Tony's back as he's facing Cap. It looks like Tony is in the attacking position and Captain America is in the defending position. It looks like Cap's bleeding a bit. He's got blood coming out of his mouth. I think at this point they've both taken quite a beating. But here's the thing. Behind Captain America, and this is the part I don't know that they meant for us to see, but what you can clearly see in this frozen frame, when you zoom in on it, is that behind Captain America, there's a body on the floor. And it looks a lot like a body wearing the clothes that Winter Soldier, that Bucky was wearing. On top of that, the body laying behind him has one arm and the other arm is ripped off, and it looks like there's like some wires and circuitry hanging out of it. We all know that Bucky has one robotic arm. So again, there's this picture from the trailer of a body with an arm ripped out. Now, we don't know if the body's alive or dead. And I think, look, we don't know 100% for sure that that's Bucky's body, but who else has one robotic arm that we know of that Captain America would seemingly be trying to defend? I mean, it's pretty obvious it's Bucky. So this gets me wondering, does Bucky die in Captain America Civil War? I mean, we've been talking about Rhodey, about War Machine, because we see in the trailer, he gets shot down and Tony's very distraught. So look, maybe Rhodey's dead. Or maybe he's just really messed up. Say he's laid up now in the hospital on life support or whatever. Maybe he's on the brink, and that's got Tony really mad. Is Bucky Tony's retaliation? Does Tony rip out Bucky's arm and beat him to death? Is he dead? I don't know. I mean, look, a lot of us have been expecting that somebody significant would die in Civil War. I think somebody will die. I never thought it would be a major player. I did not think it was going to be Captain America. I know a lot of people speculate that Cap's going to die at the end of this movie. I don't think it's going to be Captain America. I mean, who knows? Anything's possible. I don't think it'll be Captain America. So we've speculated and thought it was possible. I even thought Tony's a possibility. I still think Tony is a possibility, that Tony Stark could die. I don't really think Disney would do that. Iron Man is their most profitable character right now, so they're not going to let Tony Stark die. But who knows? It's possible. I never considered that Bucky dies in this movie. Never considered it. Now, a lot of people think that Captain America is going to die and Bucky will become the new Captain America. I've never believed that that was the case. I've never believed that was going to happen. I don't care what happened in the comics. I don't care. I don't believe that Disney is going to do that in their movie universe. I just don't believe that's going to happen. But even then, I never considered that Bucky could be one of the guys that dies, or the most major guy that dies, depending on if Rhodey lives or dies or not. Rhodey is arguably a bigger, more important character because he's been around since Iron Man 1, whereas Bucky just came in in Captain America, the First Avenger. But I've got to wonder this. If Disney did not want us to see that shot, okay, first of all, you have to know, this isn't 2006. okay? Everybody now can download these trailers and go through them frame by frame. If Disney did not purposefully let us see this shot of Bucky's body with his arm torn out, laying on the ground motionless behind Steve, if Disney didn't intend for us to see that, then you have to ask the question, how did they let this happen? How did they let this happen? How did this slip by them? Now, once again, maybe they did intend it. But in 2016, with the way that YouTube works, with the way the technology works now, you can't be so stupid as to think, oh, look in that one shot, well, it goes by really fast. No, the public won't notice it. You can't be that stupid. Because if Disney did not intentionally let this out for us to see, then somebody's going to lose their job. Somebody's got to lose their job. You can't, because unless Disney wants us to see this shot, and let's not preclude the possibility that maybe Disney wants us to see this shot. That's possible. That's possible. But let's assume for a second that they didn't. That Disney did not plan purposefully for us to see this shot of Bucky's motionless and armless body laying behind Steve. Because if they didn't, somebody has to lose their job. Because you just let slip out a major spoiler for this film in a trailer. You didn't just let it slip out to some moviepilot.com nonsense where maybe people will see it, maybe they won't, maybe they'll take it seriously, maybe they won't. You put this in the frickin' trailer that millions and millions and millions of people are going to download and see. That is not just incompetence. That's negligence. Because it's incompetence if it was, oops, we didn't mean for that to get out. Somebody at Disney, the way the marketing people and the way the PR people are so detail hoard, there is no way that nobody at Disney realized that this was in one of the shots. There is no conceivable way. Now, maybe if it was me, maybe if it was John Campea and John Campea's trailer, hey, maybe I would have overlooked it, and you can think that. But this isn't me. This is Disney with an army of publicists and people who control the narrative. There is just no way you can convince me that this was an oops. We didn't mean for that to go out. That was an accident. That's why I don't think this was just incompetence. I think it was negligence. Now, again, this is only negligence if we're operating on the assumption that Disney did not intend for us to see this, okay? And let's get back to that in just a second. For now, let's keep going on this. But somebody had to know or recognize or see at some point, because you know they go through these trailers frame by frame before they release them to the public. Somebody saw that this was in the shot, and somebody either kept their mouth shut or just thought, no one's going to notice, which is just stupidity. I mean, how big of a moron do you got to be to think that that's going to be in the trailer and somebody ain't going to recognize it and somebody ain't going to take a still of that and isn't going to put this out and it's going to get around? How could you be that stupid? Negligence. I think it was negligence. They saw it and say, let's not worry about it. And they just let it go. Now, that's on the side that Disney did not want us to see this. Let's then, because Disney is a very smart company, because especially when it comes to their marketing stuff, they make very, very few mistakes. I mean, when it comes to Disney's marketing, they may not put out like the best marketing, like say Deadpool put out, but Disney they put out very good marketing and hardly ever make really significant mistakes with their marketing. So if that's the case, Let's consider the possibility for a moment that maybe Disney knew full well that there was a split-second shot of an immobile, armless Bucky body in the background, and they wanted that to get out. They wanted us to see it. They put this trailer out knowing that it was only a matter of time before somebody noticed what was there and then let everybody else in on it. If that's the case, why did they do that? That's an interesting question. Why would Disney let us see that? Unless it's a total misdirect. Like, look, to me, I look at that picture that looks like what Bucky was wearing. It's the right arm that's torn out, all that kind of stuff. It's got to be Bucky. Maybe Disney wants us to think that, and they're putting that in as the ultimate misdirect. Maybe that's not even really in the shot. Maybe they put that body in the shot in post-production, in visual effects, just so this story would leak out and misdirect all of us. Because maybe, who knows, let's say Rhodey is the one who dies, all right? Iron Machine dies. War Machine dies, I should say. Maybe Disney's going, you know what? Everybody's cluing into the fact that we're killing off Rhodey. Let's throw a red herring out there. You know what? Take that one shot of Cap and Iron Man fighting. Composite in what looks like an armless body behind them. That will throw everybody off the trail. I'm not saying that's what they did. I'm just speculating here. So we got a couple of options here. Either one, it accidentally got out, in which case somebody needs to lose their job. Because this is terrible. If they did not intend for this to get out, this is a major, major, major spoiler that they just put in the frickin' trailer. All right? Huge mistake. Or they did intend for it to get out, either because they wanted to give us some insight or they wanted to misdirect us. I mean, who knows? The possibilities are endless here. I just thought it was very, very curious. Do me a favor, guys. Jump into the comments and let me know what you think this whole situation with this armless Bucky thing is. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. I'm going to touch on the box office here because there's a couple of really interesting things. Number one, Zootopia maintains top spot at the box office. Very happy for that film. It's a nice little animated film. It's now up to $142 million domestically alone in just 2 weeks. It takes the top spot. 10 Cloverfield Lane. A lot of people really pissed off at 10 Cloverfield Lane. Not because it isn't good, because the feedback on the film is that it's very good. A lot of people very upset that it basically has nothing to do with Cloverfield, the original Cloverfield movie. And some people I saw online, I spoke to as well, felt very deceived. They felt tricked into going to see a movie they thought was an adjunct sequel to the original Cloverfield movie. Why else would you call it 10 Cloverfield Lane? So they're feeling kind of ripped off. I'm not going to get into whether they should feel ripped off or not. It's just the fact that some people do. That's just the fact. Some people do. Whether they should or shouldn't is another discussion. But I didn't think this movie was going, I'll be honest with you, I did not think this movie was going to crack $20 million. I just didn't feel that kind of buzz for it, but it did crack $20 million. As a matter of fact, it made $25.2 million. I think that's a really respectable number for that movie. Deadpool maintains its third position. Get this, Deadpool has now made $328 million domestically alone. No way Fox ever dreamed in a million years that was even remotely going to be possible. London Has Fallen hangs in there in the top 5, makes another $10 million. It's now made $39 million on a $60 million budget. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot makes another $4 million. It's made about 14.5. I think they're going to call this one a bit of a wash. What is really interesting to me, though, I never would have saw this coming. The new Sacha Baron Cohen and Mark Strong movie, the Brothers Grimsby, debuted, 2,335 screens. It made $3.1 million. $3.1 million. Now, to put that a little bit into perspective, Sacha Baron Cohen's earlier film, Borat, made $26 million. That's almost 10 times as much as what the Brothers Grimsby. I didn't think the trailers for the Brothers Grimsby were all that great. I got a kick out of a couple of them. I thought they were okay. I didn't think they were all that bad. I think they made a big mistake, though, by not, like, everything about the trailer was from the guy who did Borat and from the guy who did this, and none of it was on arguably one of our favorite actors working right now, which is Mark Strong. You got Mark Strong in this movie, and they were giving no love to Mark Strong. Not that Mark Strong was, and not that emphasizing Mark Strong was going to be the difference between being a box office bomb and a box office hit. I'm not trying to suggest that. I just thought it was odd, that everything about these trailers completely focused on Sacha Baron Cohen, and none of it was on, like, Mark Strong. I don't even remember any trailer that said the name Mark Strong. I don't remember a single trailer saying his name. For all that this movie cared about, Mark Strong was just some other character actor who just happened to be playing Sacha Baron Cohen's brother. I thought that was a very odd choice. But anyway, even though I didn't think it was going to do huge business because the trailers weren't great, I did not see $3.1 million. That's a disaster. That's a total disaster. They cannot be happy with that number. Because you told them 6 months ago, Sacha Baron Cohen, Mark Strong, Brothers Grimsby, comedy, blah, blah, blah. They're thinking 18 to 22 million opening weekend, they're probably thinking. And they would be right to think that maybe even it had some upside to go bigger than that. But they screwed the pooch on this, 3.1. I don't know if this is a condemnation on the marketing campaign. I didn't think the marketing was all that bad, to be honest. And you've heard me a lot complain about marketing campaigns. I honestly didn't think the marketing campaign for this movie was all that bad. It wasn't great. I was certainly no Deadpool. I'm not writing any letters about it, but I didn't think it was all that bad. Is this a condemnation on Sacha Baron Cohen? Maybe. I mean, his last movie, The Dictator, didn't do all that well. Actually, I'm going to look up to see what The Dictator did. And I know not a lot of people loved it. I myself, I got a kick out of The Dictator. I thought it was all right. There it is. So Sacha Baron Cohen's Borat made like 26 million opening weekend. The Dictator went down. The Dictator only opened to 17 something. And I know it wasn't beloved. I got a kick out of it, but I know a bunch of people did not like The Dictator. So is this an issue of Sacha Baron Cohen's interest in Sacha Baron Cohen going down? What do you think? Let me know. Jump into the comments or fire me off a tweet and let me know, what do you think was the cause of Sacha Baron Cohen's new movie, The Brothers Grimsby, being such a... There's no other way to put it. It's a bomb. Any definition you want to give to this thing has bombed. So my question to you guys is, why did it bomb? That's a good question. All right, let's move on to this next thing here. Got still a few more things I want to get through, and I want to get to some of your Twitter questions. Hey, they've been talking about Beetlejuice 2 for a long time now. They've been talking about doing a Beetlejuice 2. And it's kind of understandable why. There's still a lot of nostalgic love for it. I've always said that every time a new piece of news comes out about a potential Beetlejuice 2, I've been saying, guys, it's too little, too late. This should have happened 10 years ago. Too little, too late. But we keep hearing Winona Ryder kind of saying she's interested. We keep hearing Alec Baldwin dropping hints that maybe there's some movement there. And then we keep hearing director Tim Burton saying, oh, maybe it's happening, blah, blah, blah. Well, okay, so here's what happened. So last week, this report comes out from Showbiz Spy that says in an interview, Tim Burton said the following. They're saying Tim Burton said this: the film is a go, talking about Beetlejuice 2, and has been approved by the Warner Brothers team. We have talked with the cast members and that we wanted for the film, and they are all on board. This includes both Winona and Michael. We have the script in hand. Everything is in place we need. Now all we need to do is start filming. So last week, this buzz started going around that, hey guys, it's finally happening. Beetlejuice 2 is a go. I mean, we've heard Winona Ryder say for a long time, but now we're hearing Tim Burton say Warner Brothers has approved it. Everybody's on board. We've got our script. All we need to do is start writing. Well, then this comes out from MTV, confirmed The reporters then confirmed because they reached out to Tim Burton's representatives, and their representative said none of that is true. Not only is none of that true, that interview that it was supposedly Tim Burton, that quote I just read, that quote was supposedly from, the interview that was from, never happened. It never happened. So all this hoopla about Beetlejuice 2 is once again completely on standstill. Now, Tim Burton's reps did not say Beetlejuice 2 is never happening. They didn't say that. They just said this report about everything's a go now and how Tim said, oh yeah, everything's happening. That never happened. Tim never said that. This never happened. Which once again goes to saying, just because a report is out there, don't just believe it. Take a look at where the report is coming from. In this case, it came with Showbiz Spy. I don't know who that is, and I don't know why Tim Burton would have been talking to them. But once again, here's another lesson to us that just because we see a report out there, don't just believe it. Take a second, take a breath, step back and go, okay, wait a minute, who's the source for that? Then look at the source. Now, and then is that source the real source? Or is that source also getting it from someplace else? If that's the case, where are they getting it from? Look into it with a little bit of a critical eye and see where that's coming from. Look, I'm still staying with my original stuff. I think it's too late. It's too little. Beetlejuice 2 is something that should have happened 10 years ago, maybe longer. There's a bit of a nostalgia factor now, but I do not think it's as big as everybody seems to think it is. Because everybody I talk to about Beetlejuice 2, everybody's like, oh man, everybody would love that. Everybody would love that. I don't think they would. I'm kind of getting the same feeling about that I got with Arrested Development. I said, guys, that movie's never going to happen. It's not as big as you think it is. And sure enough, it gets another season on Netflix, and it didn't do near the numbers that Netflix was expecting. I got the same feeling about Beetlejuice. I like everybody talks about how, oh my gosh, if you do another Beetlejuice movie now, it's going to be huge. I don't think it will be. I think the people at Warner Brothers know it won't be. And I just think it's too late. I think they missed the boat. Now, let's say tomorrow they do announce they're doing Beetlejuice 2. I'm sitting here saying it's too late, but who are we all kidding? I'm going to be in line to see it. I'm going to be excited to see it. You will be too. Even though I'm sitting here saying, guys, it should have happened 10 years ago. I still don't think it'll do very well, but I'll be one of those few guys that would be actually really excited to see where they go with it. All right, let's move on to a couple more things. The CW has just announced that they have renewed a whole bunch of shows. Why so interested in CW thing? Well, because a lot of comic book shows happen to be on CW, and actually right now my favorite show on television right now, which is Supernatural, also got renewed for yet another season. But let's focus on this one for a second. So all three of their comic book properties just got renewed. So Arrow is going to get a 5th season. The Flash, unsurprisingly, is going to get a 3rd season, and maybe a little bit surprisingly, DC's Legends of Tomorrow has been greenlit for a 2nd season. It is coming back. iZombie, their other show, also got picked up for, I believe it's going to be their 4th season. No, it's going to be their 3rd season they're getting. So Arrow's coming back for season 5. Flash is coming back for season 3. Legends of Tomorrow is getting a 2nd season. And as I mentioned earlier, Supernatural, show I've been watching for a long time now, got picked up for its 12th season. I remember when season 11 started, Jared Padalecki, one of the stars of the show, he tweeted out, season 11, suck on it, Smallville, which I thought was kind of funny because they're really good friends with Tom Welling and the guys over there. So hey, look, DC's Legends of Tomorrow, I didn't think it was going to get picked up for another season. I honestly didn't. I thought maybe it was going to be a one and done thing. I thought maybe it was designed to be a one and done thing. But look, I thought DC's Legends of Tomorrow was going to be awful. I'm going to say I don't think it is awful. Now, I'm also not going to go so far as to say that I think it's very good. I think it has just been good enough that I keep tuning into the next episode. You've heard me talk about this before. it's not good, but it's good enough that I keep coming back at least for another episode. I keep giving it another chance. The show hasn't jumped the shark for me the way I kind of thought it would right off the bat, and it hasn't. Actually, I think some of the characters are very interesting, and I think some of the interactions and the chemistry between some of the characters is really cool. And I think there are some good things they could do there. So I keep tuning in, and apparently enough people out there agree with me that it's good enough to keep tuning in. And so CW has taken that as a sign of faith and taken that as a sign of support from the audience like you and I. And they are giving it another season, which I thought was, I'm a little bit surprised by. I will go so far as to say I am mildly pleasantly surprised. I gotta admit, I'm glad it's coming back for another season. I like it just enough that I'm glad it's coming back for another season. Arrow, for a lot of you who followed me for any period of time, I used to love Arrow. I used to love that show. The first 2 seasons I thought were just spectacular. And then something happened in the 3rd season that just made me give up on the show. Now, I'm still a big fan of the lead of the show, Stephen Amell. I think he's a terrific Arrow. He is certainly not the problem with the show. I think he's fantastic. I think he's going to be great in the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I think he's going to have I thought he was great at WrestleMania. Actually, I was really impressed with Stephen Amell at WrestleMania. I got to tell you, he did not do the actor thing where he took some easy bumps. He was doing high flying stuff. He was jumping off the top turnbuckle down to the floor. I mean, he was doing some really crazy stuff. It was very cool to see. I'm a big fan of his. But I bailed on the show in the 2nd season because they did something that I thought made the entire underpinning of the show lose its validity. It has a lot to do with the character Laurel. I'm not going to go into all that right now. And I know a lot of people who gave up on the show, but I've caught a couple of episodes because I'm there in the room when Ann and the rest of the team are watching Arrow to do the Arrow recap show that we started over at Collider Video. And I've only seen a few though, and they haven't been bad. And actually, I'm hearing from a lot of people that season 4 is an improvement over season 3. And that's good. Actually, I'm excited to hear that. I'm happy to hear that. And so it got picked up for a 5th season. Here's hoping that if they have got some positive momentum going, that they keep that momentum going, kill off Laurel, and get us into season 5. And then maybe I can jump back on board the show. I would love to be able to jump back up on board the show because, like I said, if you guys have followed me for any period of time, you know I loved The Arrow. I loved that show. I was hooked on it right from episode 1. So here's hoping it returns to greatness. All right, just a couple more things. I'm going to get to Twitter questions. One of the movies a lot of us have been looking forward to is that new Key and Peele film, Keanu, about the cat. A lot of people saw the trailers, absolutely loved the trailers. The trailer is really funny. And Key and Peele, look, nobody is 100% hilarious all the time. Key and Peele, with their television show, have always been a little hit and miss. But they hit more than they missed. And man, when they hit, it is frickin' hilarious. I really enjoy Key and Peele an awful lot. Substitute Teacher, that skit. Hey, Ron. Hey, Ron, where are you at? And apparently they're developing a movie based on the Substitute Teacher skit they did, which I think is fantastic. Their college football Pro Bowl names. I mean, that skit was hilarious. They've done a lot of very, very funny stuff. And so this trailer for Keanu comes out, we all laugh. It's their first big major feature film that they're kind of behind and spearheading. We're all excited about it. And then it debuts at South by Southwest. Now, I'm going to let you know, I have not seen the film. I'm not at South by Southwest. I'm still here in Burbank, California. But I am hearing from people, including one of my most trusted people is Jen Yamato, who... Jen Yamato is the former senior editor of Rotten Tomatoes, and then she was at Movie Line, and now she's like the senior entertainment writer for the Daily Beast. Anyway, she just saw it. She called it a flop. She said it flops. I'm reading a couple other reviews, and I'm not reading any that are actually very kind. So, look, I'm going to wait and see it for myself, but what really disappoints me is not so much that there's a movie coming that I'm looking forward to and I'm hearing negative critical response. That's fine. I can deal with that. What concerns me is that I'm seeing negative critical response from critics who I know were really looking forward to this movie. Like, I'm reading bad reviews for Keanu, from film critics who I know are Key and Peele fans and who I know were looking forward to seeing this movie. And South by Southwest is a very movie-friendly place to do a premiere. Just everybody's in a good mood and everybody's excited. That is a great place to debut your film. And yet I'm still reading kind of negative stuff about it, which is really unfortunate. So I'm scared. I'm scared about it. And if it is bad, what does that mean for Substitute Teacher? And what does that mean for whatever else they were developing with Judd Apatow? And what does that mean for the future of Key and Peele? I don't know. I don't want to pin too much on one movie. And one movie that's only getting a certain number of critic responses coming from one film festival. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. But hey, I'm going to tell you, I was hoping that Keanu would premiere at South by Southwest, and I was expecting to hear all this huge praise. Because like I said, I know all the guys down there reviewing it. And I know they love Key and Peele, and I know they were looking forward to the film. So it's kind of concerning to me as a fan that we're hearing negative things from those people. It's just really weird. All right. Last thing I'll touch on here, and then I'll get to the Twitter questions, because I know we're starting to run a little bit late. But do you guys remember about 3 years ago, an announcement came out at this big video game conference that Valve, the company behind games like Portal and Half-Life, and J.J. Abrams took the stage together, and they announced that they were going to develop that Bad Robot, J.J.'s company, and Valve were going to develop a couple games, yes, but they were also going to be developing movies for Portal and for Half-Life. A Portal movie and a Half-Life movie. Everybody lost their minds. If you haven't played Portal, by the way, it is a funny game to play. And I don't mean like the way it plays. No, it's a very good game. It has very good gameplay. But the story in it and the voice of the computer and stuff like that is very, very funny. So it's a very entertaining game. If you haven't played Portal, go give it a shot, then play Portal 2. But anyway. But that was in 2013 that J.J. Abrams and Valve announced this big Bad Robot and Valve partnership to develop new games and to make these two movies. Here we are nearly 3 years later. I don't see anything about a Half-Life movie. I don't see anything about a Portal movie. So anyway, recently with IGN, JJ was asked about those movies. Say, hey, is there anything coming up? Are we about to see these movies? And JJ said this, nope, not yet, but they're in development. And we've got writers and we're working on both of those stories, but nothing that would be an exciting update. So basically, these things have stalled. But I'm going to tell you this. And I've been saying this for a while about Warcraft and about Assassin's Creed. If Warcraft and Assassin's Creed come out and the critics love them and the fans love them and they do good business at the box office, I believe there's a plethora of video game properties, not the least of which will be Portal and Half-Life 2, that you are suddenly going to hear fast-tracking development. I'm telling you, if Warcraft comes out and makes $100 million opening weekend, I don't think it's going to make $100 million opening weekend, but let's say for argument's sake, it makes $100 million opening weekend, and it gets like a 73% critic rating score, it gets like a 79% audience rating score. If that happens, you can bet there's going to be some reorganization going on over at Bad Robot to start putting some resources towards Half-Life and Portal and to getting those things going again and getting them out the door. However, if Warcraft bombs, critics don't like it, fans don't like it, fans didn't go out to see it. If Assassin's Creed underperforms, then you may never see a Portal or a Half-Life 2 movie ever. Because it has been 3 years. It's not like these films are going to take on a life of their own and all of a sudden sprout out. I think everybody is sitting around. I think the owner of video game properties right now are sitting around and waiting to see what is going to happen with Warcraft and what is going to happen with Assassin's Creed. All right. Yes, Hitman Agent 47 came out, but that's not a linchpin one. That's Hitman Agent 47 was not going to be a telltale sign for anybody. If Hitman Agent 47 had done great, it really wouldn't have meant anything for everybody else. Had it done poorly, and it didn't do all that great, let's call it what it is, it's not going to deter anybody either. But Warcraft and Assassin's Creed, if these projects do well, that'll have influence. And if they do poorly, that'll have influence as well. Let's see what those mean for the future of Half-Life and for Portal. All right, guys. Well, I said I was going to take a couple of your Twitter questions. I'm going to do that right now. How do you get a Twitter question to me? It's very simple. You jump on Twitter and you tweet out your question and just include the hashtag TJCP, the John Campea Podcast. So that's hashtag TJCP. Just make sure that hashtag is in your tweet and I will see it. So I've got time to pick out a couple here. This first one comes to me from Darth Prajago, and Darth Prajago writes, what are some of your favorite or most hated TV series finales? My favorite would have to be Angel. I loved Angel. I really you know what? I was not a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. Not. I don't know many people who really like Angel, but didn't really care for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But I'm one of those. I was not all that into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I really liked Angel. I got to tell you, I hated the series finale for that. Because remember what happened there. That they had the plug pulled on that show like halfway through the season. And they weren't even allowed to finish out the season. They had the plug pulled and they had 5 more episodes left. But the season was supposed to be like 10 more episodes or something, but they had 5 episodes left. So suddenly all the writers were like, we have half the time now to wrap up what we were doing, to wrap up this entire show. Like they didn't even know Angel was getting canceled, let alone getting canceled, before the end of the season. That all of a sudden that the network's going to tell them, by the way, we're pulling the plug and you only got 5 episodes left. It's like, what? Now, not only do we have to finish this season, we have to finish this series in 5 episodes. And you could totally tell that it was rushed. And the series ends on a cliffhanger. And I think that's terrible. It ends with our heroes about to go fight off this hoarding army of monsters coming at them. And Angel going, I don't know about you guys, but I want to slay the dragon. And that was it. We don't get to know what happened from that fight and if they won, if they lost, and then what are the consequences of them winning? What were the consequences of them losing? To me, it was very unsatisfying. I did not like it at all. So I gotta say that's one I didn't like at all. Another one that I really didn't like as a series finale was the Seinfeld. I mean, this is a lot of people say this one, but it's true. The Seinfeld series finale was a bust. It was a total bust. Remember the one? It was like they were on trial for the Good Samaritan law. It was terribly done. Such an awesome show. Deserved a better series finale. I can probably name off a couple of really good series finales that I've liked. But to me, the best series finale I had ever seen is the series finale for Star Trek The Next Generation. And it was a 2-parter. And the name of the episodes were All Good Things. And of course, if you know the saying, the full saying is all good things must come to an end. But the title for those episodes, the finales were All Good Things. And it was everything a series finale should be. It kind of wrapped everything up. It put us and let us look at the show from a slightly different perspective. It brought some of our favorite characters back, so Q was in there as well. It was a wonderful series finale. So there are several really good ones out there. Dexter wasn't a very great one. Although I did like, a lot of people didn't like the last season of Dexter. I did like the last season, but like the final 2 episodes, they were a mess. They didn't work very well. All right, a couple more. So Harperius writes, what do you think of Daredevil's new red suit and much improved mask? Also, has the new Spidey suit grown on you? Start with Daredevil. I don't like the new Daredevil suit. I certainly don't hate it. But what happened to me was, I might have talked about this on the show before. Maybe I think it was on Heroes. Me and John Schnepp were talking about this. That I just really grew to love that simple black material costume that Daredevil wore in season 1. It felt right. It just felt like it would for the show. Now, they had a story point about why he upgraded it into body armor sort of thing. I get it. I really do. But it hasn't grown on me yet, the change, because it took it took a season for that black one to grow on me, but then it just felt right for the type of character and the grittiness of the episodes and the grittiness of the series. That black outfit felt right to me. But they abandoned it. So I don't hate the new Daredevil outfit. I'm sure I love the show, so I'm sure it's going to grow on me. But if you're going to ask me right now, has it grown on me? No. And as far as the Spidey suit, nope, still hasn't grown on me. Look, I've watched the trailer 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 times now. It's because it's an awesome trailer. But that Spider-Man looks very shiny and plastic. Now, I've had a bunch of people, email me, say, "Oh, John, but you got to see the HD still image of it. Then it looks much better." That's fine. But what I've really been exposed to is the trailer. And that Spider-Man suit in the trailer, while the design is right, it looks like a big, giant, shiny Spider-Man patterned condom. That's what he looks like. He looks like a Spider-Man patterned condom. Very rubber and plastic. And so the texture of it just felt wrong to me. But, ultimately, I said this in my review of the trailer as well. Who cares? Who cares if the costume doesn't look good? Look, I said this before, I'll say it again. The Quicksilver costume in X-Men Days of Future Past. Did any of us like that costume? No. Ultimately, did it matter? No, because we all love the character and it turned out to be a kick-ass character. So ultimately, do I like this Spider-Man costume? I've only seen 2 seconds of it, but from the 2 seconds I've seen, I don't like it. Maybe once we see more of it, I'll change my mind. That's totally possible. It's actually probable. But for right now, what I see, I don't like, but who cares? It's just the costume. Even if we all agreed that the costume looks like crap, that doesn't mean anything to how good we think the character will be, right? So let's not get too carried away in our criticism of the character just because we don't like the costume. But you know what else? I'm amazed how butthurt. There are some Spider-Man fans out there that, I'm sorry, look, objectively speaking, that costume looks shiny and rubbery. It does. It just does. You can admit that without it hurting your love of the character. Seriously, I'm so amazed by how quickly some people online want to jump to defend that horrible glossy look of this just because they love Spider-Man. And it's like, if you criticize anything about the Spider-Man look, you're criticizing Spider-Man himself. It's like, grow up. Grow up. I'm one of the big defenders of all the Spider-Man franchises. I love the Spider-Man movies. I love Spider-Man 3 was a pile of shit, but who cares? And I love all the Spider-Man stuff. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man. I've been looking forward to seeing him pop up in Civil War as much as anybody else. And I still am. But he looked like a giant condom. He did. That doesn't mean the character's not going to be awesome, though. So don't get your underwear in a twist. Don't get all hissy. Because, oh no, somebody dared criticize something about Spider-Man. Grow up, pair, all right? Just grow up. It looked bad. It did. But who cares? That doesn't mean the character's going to be good. It's going to be awesome, all right? It's going to be awesome. So just take a deep breath and let's move on. All right, 2 more quick questions. R. McKenna 19 writes, "Hey, John, if you want to get into UFC, which everybody should be into the UFC, what do you recommend reading/watching to learn about the sport?" Honestly, look, the UFC mixed martial arts is just the most awesome sport, right next to hockey. It's the most awesome sport in the world. It's such a great sport. And honestly, here's something we've got going for us as UFC fans right now. Some people bag on Joe Rogan. It's like, wait, the host of Fear Factor? Yeah, that Joe Rogan. This guy, Joe Rogan, is so good at his job because listening to him calling an MMA fight with Mike Goldberg, but Rogan really educates the viewer as the fights are going on. If you want to learn about UFC and about MMA, honestly, the best thing to do is just get some buddies together, rent the pay-per-view, or go to a sports bar and watch one. At least go to a sports bar where the volume is going to be up so you can hear it. And honestly, just for one 3-hour card, just listen to Joe Rogan talk about the fight and analyze the fight as it goes, and you'll be surprised how quickly you pick up on the nuances of mixed martial arts. He's great. So the best way to get into it, just start watching it, particularly the main ones that actually have Joe Rogan calling the color commentary. And Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg generally call most of the major UFC fights. So that's my best suggestion there. All right, final question of the day. Skyler Hicks, the SKYLERHXC, writes, "Hey John, love the podcast. Thank you so much. What film do you think is severely underappreciated so much that it pains you? For me, it's Saving Mr. Banks." Yeah, Saving Mr. Banks to me was a really special film. As a matter of fact, I remember believing, and I still do, that Colin Farrell should have been nominated for an Academy Award for that movie. He wasn't even in any of the trailers. I think he might have been in one of the trailers for a bit. But to me, Colin Farrell stole that movie. In a movie where you have like Tom Hanks playing Walt Disney, Colin Firth stole that movie and gave the best performance of the movie. He was amazing in it. And if you're somebody who you're not quite sure whether or not Colin Farrell is a great actor or not a great actor, watch Saving Mr. Banks. He's spectacular in that movie. And I really love the movie. But honestly, for me, the film that I believe does not get near enough credit and near enough praise is the film that I actually kind of believe might be Steven Spielberg's best movie. That is his 1997 film Amistad with Djimon Hounsou. I kind of introduced the world to Djimon Hounsou, and I'm so glad that it did. Matthew McConaughey, Anthony Hopkins. It's a fabulous movie. Just fabulous. For the life of me, I cannot understand why more people don't know about Amistad and don't talk about it and don't praise it. And it doesn't, whenever discussions come up about top 5 Steven Spielberg movies, it never comes up. And I want to pull my hair out and yell at the sky. Why? Like, why are you not talking about this movie? It is so good. It is so awesome. If you have not seen it, and odds are you haven't seen it because a lot of people haven't, dude, I highly recommend. Check out Amistad, 1997, Matthew McConaughey, Anthony Hopkins, Djimon Hounsou, directed by Steven Spielberg. Check it out. It's awesome. It's wonderful. And it infuriates me that more people don't know and appreciate this masterpiece by Steven Spielberg. It completely eludes me as to why it doesn't get more credit. Anyway, that'll do for me, guys, for this installment of the John Campea podcast. Thank you so much for joining me for this installment. Please make sure, jump over to iTunes. Please do me a favor. This would help me out a lot. Jump over to iTunes and find the John Campea podcast in there and rate this podcast and leave a comment for this podcast. That would help me out a great deal. Also, leave your comments and thoughts. And if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, or if you're listening to this on any of the podcasting services, leave your thoughts. Make sure you keep tweeting to me at #TJCP, and make sure you follow me, by the way, number one, on my Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/John Campea. Make sure you're following me on Twitter, which is on, it's just simply at John Campea. Follow me there. Follow me on Instagram. It's also at John Campea. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. So that'll do it for me, guys. I will be back again either tomorrow or Wednesday. Keep your eye open on your subscription feeds as to when the next episode's up. But I will be back here pretty soon. Thanks a lot for joining me. Until next time, for the John Campea podcast. Bye-bye.